Hey, it's George Hardy from Troll 2. And you kept pissing on hospitality. I won't allow it. All you Revenge of the Sequel listeners out there, I want you to wear a mask or else the goblins will turn you into plants and eat you all. Stay safe, everybody.
Story didn't end there.
How could there have been only one? And he's back in business.
Is the worst idea in history of bad ideas.
Part 2 is the final chapter in the violent history.
This time, it's personal.
You're late.
I'm sorry we had a small mishap.
Here are the keys. Here are ours.
Have a nice stay in Millpond.
And you in our city.
Still telling the same story, Josh?
Powers of evil are very strong here. I must leave.
Goblins don't exist. Goblins don't exist.
And remember,
They're eating her! Then they're going to eat me!
so dizzy.
Kids with a sweet tooth like yours love ice cream.
Delicious. And purified.
I order you for the sacred power of the magic stones.
Need help, Grandpa!
No!
Welcome to Revenge of the Sequel, the podcast just about sequels. If you like the word can, row, row, row your boat, magic mirrors, Grandpa Orson Welles, tight belt loops, hospitality, cholesterol, RV corn sex, double-decker bologna sandwiches, then you're going to like the movie we're talking about this week. It's Troll 2, singular, I don't think plural.
Yeah, Trolls 2 would be a world tour, and that's a completely different podcast.
Trolls, not World Tour. Although in some ways, this toured the world, I assume.
Yeah.
Sure did.
My name's Emmanuel.
Hey, I am Andrew.
Hey, it's John.
Yo, Jenna Lou.
Woo-woo! Have you been on this pod before?
She has, actually, I think.
I actually have. Years ago.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom?
Yeah, we talked about the whip. Oh, man.
Yeah, are you surprised that we're still going? I'm just kidding.
I'm not going to answer that question.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that was the answer. How has the quarantine been?
It's been pretty boring. I feel like I ran a whole mile in my kitchen at one point. That's how bored I was.
Whoa.
While drinking. My dad. Yeah.
Well, and
wild.
Also, I think you earned a lot of money for the community also, didn't you?
I sure did. I did a 24-hour bike ride in my apartment, and I raised enough for 35,000 meals.
See?
Wow.
See?
So that was something good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, how much?
I raised enough for 35,000 meals for the community.
Oh my god.
Boom.
It's like That's like 10 Starbucks drinks, I think. Was that a bad joke? Because if it was,
but it's expensive. You're right.
Yeah.
Fits perfectly with Troll 2. Why did you pick this sequel of all the sequels?
Because it's the best sequel. It really is. Truly, seriously, like, of all sequels that I could have chosen to talk about, like, Troll 2 is where it's at. It delivers on so many levels.
I don't remember the first time I heard about this movie because it feels like it's an underground VHS tape that people are passing around in a weird way. It's even now. I don't think is it streaming anywhere?
And it's not. You have to have like you have to be subscribed to a service. Not like Netflix or Prime, but like you have to actually be like subscribed to like HBO or something. But yeah, Troll 2 is very much one of those movies that like you didn't see a trailer for it. Like one of your friends showed it to you on like a bootleg VHS or like bootleg something. And that's how you saw it.
While you're drinking bootleg liquor, what else is illegal now?
What's not
maskless? John, Andrew, when did you guys hear about Troll 2 for the first time?
Well, I used to work for the Alamo Draft House, and it used to be a thing there, and I think that's when I first heard of it. I think I heard it, of it in passing. Also, when I heard people refer to review sites, critic sites like IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that. But yeah, I had heard about it, and I still, as much as I heard from it, I never really ended up watching it until recently. I mean, for this, and so I ended up watching the documentary also, and yeah, it was really insightful. It's one of the purest, I guess, movies in general, because you're right, Emmanuel. Yeah, you had to have heard of it from someone, from word of mouth, and the fact that it was able to kind of spread like wildfire and be as popular as it was today, to have someone, a corporate chain like the Draft House show you was pretty crazy, especially getting released straight to TV or on VHS and stuff like that. It's pretty insane. It literally is a cult phenomenon for sure.
I heard about it in college. I think a friend of mine kind of told me about I think memes were just barely being a thing back in. I feel like it makes me old by saying that, but
for sure, probably does, John.
Yeah. Someone showed me the clip, the "Oh my God" clip. And like on
a good scene.
It was during like a sound class, like a sound design class in college, and they had showed me that scene, and that basically, from there on out, I basically knew about the movie, and then I did research on it. Apparently, it was like one of the worst movies like ever made.
Wow.
I didn't actually see it until recently. Well, I think Drew and I watched it together. It's pretty out there. It reminds me of like, I've always been a fan of Troma.
Yes.
And, yeah, like it's been pretty cool like that. The thing that kind of separates this from Troma though is the fact that like Troma's a little bit more self-aware. I think Troll 2 is like, the intention behind Troll 2 was to make an actual like a movie. Yeah. So there's no like really irony involved.
It was real genuine.
Yeah, it's a lot of passion going into it. It's just, it didn't kind of end up that way, and it became like a cult classic.
Yes. Yeah, John, we can hear each other, but are we listening?
Is the Zencastr thing a thing?
Yeah, it's happening.
Okay, cool.
So what were your first impressions watching it, I guess, for the first time? Or I guess the first time in a while?
Am I supposed to go first? Okay, yeah. First time in a while, man. I was just thinking, why haven't I been watching this during quarantine to cheer me up?
Ooh.
I feel like it's such a great movie to watch.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Me.
And maybe miss Draft House more.
Wow. Oh, John now is having problems.
Technical issues. Hold on, let me go to his room.
Is everyone else okay?
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. No, we're okay.
Andrew,
I'm okay.
You can hear me? You're
good?
I
can see and hear everyone.
Oh, John.
Why can't we hear John?
Do you remember this happened to me the other time?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, just
nope. That
reload
means
the
we have
tape.
to cut you out completely.
Here, I'll stop it and I'll reload as well. Hello?
We can hear you now.
Sweet, awesome.
No,
Everything's good. It was John.
We're just gonna have to play
Look at me.
communicator
Good.
there, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Just hold up signs and just be like,
Okay. I'll start that up again.
yeah, sorry guys.
So, what were your first impressions, or I guess your impressions watching it?
Oh, he's going.
We're playing
anybody-
rock paper scissors for you, John. This is an audio thing.
John, it's
you
you.
can go.
It's you, John. Go.
You go.
Okay, cool. So I had never seen this movie before, and it was actually a lot of fun. I was kind of dreading, just from the reputation it has around it, and from the clips I've seen online. So I had to kind of like really throw my I guess like the suspension of disbelief was really out there for me. But actually, like I think like 10 minutes into the movie, like immediately with the fact that there's no trolls involved and they're calling them goblins, and yeah, it was like, and then just like the way the synth 80s music just like kicks in, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be a fun time. Like it's like the dialogue was so bad, it's like it just went into awesome status.
Wow.
So it was quite an experience. Like I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I'd kind of wish I'd seen it sooner so I can like kind of participate in some other stuff, and then probably like participate in like discussions about it, and then I wish I kind of would have watched Troll 1. I know they're kind of very unrelated things.
They're not connected at all?
No,
they're not actually.
Wow.
But it was a fun time, and then watching this paired up with Best Worst Movie, the documentary, made me appreciate the movie way more than I did, after the first screening of it.
Andrew, what did you think, man? I know that you sometimes don't come on the pod if the movie isn't good. So what did you think? Thanks for being on the pod.
Yeah,
That's already a good sign.
You're welcome. I try. But no, I mean, especially since we're recording remotely, I figured I had no excuse. I'm just kidding. No, I had really, really low expectations from it because, again, I had heard about it when I worked for the Draft House like a million years ago, and they did it every year, and so every year it was crazier and crazier and crazier.
Every single year?
Yeah. It's a big thing, and so so every year they kind of put it on, and I was actually surprised as to the turnout every year. I was like, for sure this is the year where like no one's showing up.
Yeah,
but it had the reputation, like that's what would sell it. Almost the selling point was that it was the worst movie ever made, and so you kind of you're curious. For sure, you're equally as curious as you are. The director says it in the movie, where he kind of, in the documentary, he kind of says that being known as the worst movie is kind of like being known as the best movie because they're aware of you, kind of. And so super low expectation going into it, and then I watched it, and I've seen worse movies in it. So I was actually I know I told Johnny immediately two movies. I told him 2 movies, and I was like, 50 Shades of Black, Marlon Wayne.
Okay.
It's a parody of 50 Shades of Grey.
Wow.
One of those like scary movie parodies type of thing, like super raunchy type of, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was a Atlantic Rim, and it was covered by Mystery Science Theater, and it was a Pacific Rim ripoff. It's the most recent movie they've ever done. It was part of that new season or whatever. But yeah, worst movie I've ever seen. Not even the Mystery Science Theater, Crow, Tom Servo, and Jonah could save it for me. But I was, genuinely mad that I had to watch that movie. But I wasn't genuinely mad about having to watch this movie. So, again, those 2 movies were way worse than this. I think the documentary helped me appreciate it a little bit more. I was kind of... as soon as they said Nilbog, I looked at John. I was like, God damn it, this goblin spelled backwards instantly, right away.
You know what's really embarrassing? I didn't know that until someone mentioned it.
Oh no!
Same.
In the movie, yeah.
I thought it was a real place.
That's hilarious. Yeah, but anyway, I was able to pick some of that stuff apart pretty quickly. That oh my god scene is used everywhere and anywhere, anytime they can. But again, I had a super low bar, and it beat that bar, and so there you go. It was more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be.
I'm gonna ask a really tough question. Anyone can jump in with the answer. But what do you guys think this movie is about? Other than like actual like goblins. But what do you think the message of this movie, or what do you think the movie was?
Vegetarians suck.
Okay.
I was gonna say go green. It's basically that, like, hey, if you can just stop killing the planet, or like, stop eating red meat,
and the planet will kill you.
Yeah,
happening style.
It's kind of happening a little bit.
Yeah,
too real.
John,
I think like it's a mixture of what both Jenna and Andrew said. Like it's kind of like it seems like like these vegetarians are very very in theory, like when you tell someone about that, like it's a movie about vegetarians killing people, it's kind of like it's really funny. I would think I think you're trying to do a spin on like an environmental thing. I mean, I'm reaching here, but it's kind of like like basically a vegetarian message, like you probably shouldn't eat meat and stuff like that, but also like at the same time the vegetarians are the
bad ones.
The bad ones, and the only way you can beat them is with by eating a double-decker bologna sandwich
and touching Stonehenge
and touching stones from Stonehenge,
which solves that mystery.
Insane.
I had been worried about I don't worry about Stonehenge, but I was wondering what Stonehenge was for. And thanks to this movie, 100%, I know now.
Yeah, exactly. You had to mark that off.
But yeah, I think what's really interesting is this movie probably more. We did a Swamp Thing movie, I think, too. At some point
we did,
but there are a lot of movies that kind of toe that line between like the I guess they're like quiche, kind of campy. Self-aware is a good point, and they do have a place, and they're entertaining. And I mean, this movie has survived and lived long, just like the Goblins did, I guess, since Stonehenge days. But so I mean, they definitely have a purpose. I mean, these movies are insane to watch. And I think, Andrew, to your point, after watching the documentary and realizing, of course, all movies are made by humans, and sometimes the stories behind humans are sad, and sometimes they're really like great and fun. Like these are all people who tried to make a good movie in earnest.
Did you guys find the documentary sad? I think it wasn't like meant to be sad.
I was sad.
I didn't think it was sad.
Okay.
It made me sad only again because I missed Draft House, and it shows Draft House in it too.
That's true.
With Tim Lee.
Yeah.
The road shows. Did y'all work at the same time? The Draft House, like
I think so, right?
I think so. Yeah. I was right as I was leaving. She was coming in, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. It's like a reunion.
Yeah. That's awesome.
John, we're like Oprah. Me and you are like Oprah.
I'm just sitting here very, very jealous because I applied to the Draft House numerous times, and
it was hard to get in.
Oh man, I got hired on the spot. Like they gave me an interview.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
It was because I emailed the GM though, and he was like, "Hey, ask for my top manager and tell her to interview you there." And so I filled out an application, and she was like, "Thanks, we'll call you." And I was like, "No, the GM told me for you to interview," and then I got hired.
Fuck, dude! I like met somebody in a interview at PacSun that happened to work at Draft House, and they're like, "Oh, I can get you in," and I had to go through that after I had applied at Draft House like 4 times before that.
Well, and I'm sure I applied like a little bit way before you, maybe. Hopefully they just became like super exclusive, and they were just taking anybody when I got applied.
Andrew's really, really old, so this was probably in the 80s when he did that. I haven't applied. I should do it now, actually. That way I can get in the group.
You can never get in. You would never get in.
Yeah, it's just the top 2 screens here. Like we're excluded. Nope. It's pretty.
But
crazy.
I will say that, and I don't want this person to get in trouble, but there's a big fan of our Marvel podcast who works there, and let's just say, Daddy doesn't pay for tickets whenever Daddy goes. I'm Daddy.
I was like, are you talking to me? I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay, Andrew.
Talk about me.
But yeah, so Troll 2, I guess we can just dive into it. What are some of the things in the movie? I mean, I think, John, you brought up a point that they made it in earnest. I did notice a lot of the same things that, the same techniques of things in movies that came out maybe less than 10 years before it that were successful. Halloween, the introduction of like the killer's point of view, that happens a lot in this movie. Hard lighting. Sometimes if you pay attention, the shadows are going 2 or 3 different ways because they're using giant lights just to slam and wash these actors full. So they definitely tried to employ the same techniques from all of these grungy horror movies, John Carpenter movies, of just like maybe a couple of years before this movie came out. What are some of the things about this movie that you guys want to talk about?
I think the gore and the effects were like very like that was one thing that stood out. I was like, hey, this still kind of holds up. Like all the green,
the goo.
The green goo, even like the frosting, the actual
all the frosting.
Well, there's a part where the kid kind of has his hand up and like plants are growing out of it, and that looks pretty sick. Like it's pretty awesome. So they're spared like no expense in that department, which is pretty great. I love the campiness of it all too. Like I think that Grandpa, you called him Grandpa Orson Welles, and I was thinking the exact same
like
thing.
Orson Welles.
Yeah, he does.
He wears a turtleneck, I believe, in this movie.
I wrote it down in my notes. I was like, Orson Welles is the grandpa here. It's pretty fucking crazy.
What a get. Citizen Kane himself.
Drew and Jenna, what were the things that kind of jumped out at you when you watched this flick?
I like the scene where the dad is tightening his belt loop.
Oh God, he's like, I need to tighten my belt. One up.
And just the setup of it all. It's my favorite scene in the movie, and I couldn't stop talking about it at work. Just describing this scene, and I think maybe the way I described it was a little.
Well, Andrew, you're a real piss freak, right?
No. I'm actually not. I appreciate you asking.
What does that
mean? And so the kid pees on the food, which to me, I was like, wait, they had food right next to their mouth. And so he must have put his finger over the hose and just spray everywhere.
Andrew, when you're describing that, you talked about your favorite scene, and in order to set it up, you had to go.
I know. Look what you made me do. Well, because John said so much already, then I didn't want to copy him, and so I'm trying to say something different.
Then you have to go even further, because before the pee, time stops as well, and before time stops,
well, I was trying to give
the ghost grandpa.
I was trying to give the abridged version, but I would have to basically describe the whole entire movie before this.
Do it
anyway. So the setup is the kid pees on the food or whatever, and the dad's taking him upstairs, and the mom says, "Don't hurt him," and so you're like, "Oh man, he's about to get it good. He's about to get got." And so when he goes upstairs, you think he's gonna get a spanking or whatever. And
I honestly thought though for a second, and I don't know if you guys thought this, that he was going to pee on him as a lesson.
I think you have a pee thing. Oh. No, wait.
No, I mean, it seemed like that's what he was going to do, because he was doing the thing with his belt, and you didn't know he was going to just say something stupid.
Yeah, and so I did say that at work, that it's either he was going to get spanked or he was going to do some weird, freaky, kinky shit.
Man.
Yeah.
How do you like it?
I think our president likes those currently.
Okay, Andrew, why are you bringing...
What?
Your fake news. I'm just kidding.
So anyway, I thought he was going to get spanked.
Well, let's just talk about some alternatives to stopping people from eating than peeing. I think you can also just tell people stop, use your words, smack the food away. I don't know if peeing
he's a kid. He's small hands. So, I mean...
He's got 30 seconds, bro. He wasted 20 of those seconds just thinking hard.
But he would have had to have peed on command, though. How easy is it to pee on command?
It's pretty easy.
I guess for guys,
I'm doing it now.
I can't relate to that. Like,
I think it's a volume thing too, because if we're looking at a table full of food, I mean, I could maybe ruin a cake, but I can't ruin dinner. But if I guess, how long do you guys think? Because I mean, he stops them from eating then, but throughout the movie, they have to avoid eating anything. How long do you think they went?
I think that's one of those themes too, because they say it multiple times even before they leave, or that when they're there, they're like, "We're starving, like we haven't eaten."
Oh, they're fasting, right? I think it's like a two day like the movie's supposed to take place within 2 days
Okay.
because they keep saying that like in the movie like I've been fasting for 2 days, and that weird freaky creepy good looking witch like tells them to like that they're
John likes the witch.
it's like, you know,
I was like, we're considering her good looking? Okay.
All right, John.
I mean, she gets good looking at one point because she I
Oh,
don't
she
know,
seduces
it's so
those
weird.
kids.
Oh, and
Yeah,
that's
she
also
does.
it's funny. She during that scene, she's like, "I got my powers back," and all of her powers was that like, "Oh, she's hot," I guess.
And also corn.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, a lot of corn. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was under the impression that the guy died by popcorn, but he looked like he was just very out of breath.
yeah.
he had enough.
Like at one point,
I thought he did die by
not
popcorn.
enough.
I thought she like suffocated him with popcorn.
He was
Yeah,
moving
he
though.
gets
Maybe
out.
it's just the way it was shot, like because he was like kind of like breathing and huffing like popcorn out.
It's too much
And so I
too
was like,
much
oh.
butter, John. High cholesterol.
Too much butter. Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
that is an interesting yeah. The food there is a really big relationship in this movie with food and eating. So I think I think it was. Sorry, I burped because I'm getting hungry talking about popcorn and peeing.
You're becoming
but-
Rick from Rick and Morty.
I think this movie was written by the director's wife, who was kind of anti-vegetarian or something.
Sure
right?
was. She was
Totally
upset
true.
that all her friends had become vegetarians, and yet she was like, "Fuck you guys," and she made this movie. Or she wrote the script.
When I'm sure you know the way friends are, like try it, you'll like it. I'm like, no, I fucking love meat. Leave me alone. I'm just kidding.
That's the
That's what she
moral.
said.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, she loves corn, baby.
Yeah.
Should talk about the director. The director actually directed this under a pseudonym named who the fuck? Drake Floyd.
Yes.
And
Floyd
this is-
for sure. I
yes.
can't remember the first name, but Floyd for sure.
And this he's an Italian. Wasn't there like a language barrier or something because a lot of the film crew
Was
and
Italian.
the money was from another country, which I don't know. I
Pretty,
guess could
pretty standard.
yeah, like I'm sure it's fine.
Right. Yeah. His he did basically have like there was a language barrier between the crew and the cast. And you know that I think they say it also in Best Worst Movie, the documentary, which we're kind of jumping back and forth between them, but I think that adds a lot of context to the actual movie. I think one of the actors says that like they didn't really enjoy being around the Italian crew because the Italian crew were very pushy, and all in all, they looked kind of a little mean. Actually, the director kind of seemed kind of douchey a little bit.
It was definitely like
I
full
think
of
he was-
himself.
Yeah, definitely. He was he really does like, you know, have a big ego and stuff. He didn't seem like he was in on the joke per se. Like, you know, everybody likes the movie because everybody thinks it's bad and it's like a campy fun time, but he was kind of like taken back by it. He was like they're laughing at parts they're not supposed to laugh at, and you know, and then he kept like I think at one point they have like an Alamo Drafthouse Roadshow where they bring out the entire cast and stuff. And he's actually like getting really mad at the actors when they're doing like a Q&A. Like he's like yelling at them from the crowd, and it looks very awkward.
I think there is definitely a disconnect between him appreciating it as a solid piece of art, and instead of like a campy piece of entertainment.
He throws a tantrum. Like he goes off and does this little talking head interview where he's like, I've directed hundreds of movies in every language, like in English and in Italian, you know, and he goes on, and he was just like, they don't know shit.
Well,
like, oh,
and it's
fuck.
the crazy part is that like he's Italian and he's like, oh no, what I write is super American. It's more American than you could be.
Yeah.
And you're like, that makes no sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this movie is basically built on a lot of different sequences, but the majority of it is, you know, they go to a small town. It opens Princess and Bride style with the old man reading a story to a child, and then
it
the
does.
first big twist of the movie, old man Orson Welles is not there,
He's a ghost.
and then it plays kind of that. He plays kind of that Obi-Wan Kenobi character who comes when you need him to, banished back to hell, but then comes back with an axe whenever. And then also, doesn't he have he talks through mirrors or something, right?
Yeah.
A magic mirror type thing. But what do you guys think about this town? Goblins back. What is it? Nilbog.
Nilbog.
Nilbog. I thought it was a cool setting. I mean, it's like a classic horror movie setting of a place with kind of interesting and unique characters.
That general store owner, that guy was a trip of a character, and in real life, he actually does have like mental issues.
Yeah,
yeah, it wasn't a performance; it was real.
It was real, very real. His in the documentary, they do an interview with him, and he's like showing his stuffed animals, and he was just like, "I would vote for this guy," and he's like pointing to like a bear.
Yeah, that's one of the parts in the documentary where like you kind of like it's a little heartbreaking to see, and then it's kind of like, but they throw a comedic twist on it because he kind of comments on his own like performance in the movie, and he's like, "Man, I looked really creepy then." He was like, "That's fucking."
I felt the part that was interesting about his conversation is he said he was on drugs, but he said when he was trying to feed poison to the boy,
that was great.
A little weird.
He said he was trying to throw hands with the kid. That those hands are ready to eat for everyone.
It's like I actually wanted to give him poison. His name is Don Packard. It looks like he is only in Troll 2.
Right.
So I don't know if he did much after that.
You think he knew that the kid was the dude directing
That's why I was
the
just like, did anyone else realize that? I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because he says he's like this little, excuse me, this little stupid like Mormon kid or something. I was like, oh shit, like that could be the guy behind the camera.
It's like, yeah, it's literally the guy who's directing. So I'm like,
the guy's about to whip your ass in real life. This little young kid's like, well, let's throw these hands down.
I think part of the town that felt a little authentic was the fact that I think all of them were just people around. I didn't even think the main characters were just people who were near where they needed to be like in a movie. But yeah, I mean it's fun. I mean, there's a good. Who's the guy who makes Florida Project does this in all of his movies. He cast half not actors, like actual kids from the hotels, and it works out fine. And it's a nice like practice when it works.
Yeah, it's a popular thing to not popular. I don't want to say popular thing, but like Lynn Ramsey also does the same thing. I think she casts actors, but she doesn't cast like very glamorous actors sometimes because she says it gives the appearance of real people. She does that in most of her movies, but most of her earlier ones, because but yeah,
and a lot of those characters in Troll 2 at least look real or to the area. They act insane, like all of them act wild, but they look like they're part of that town that they're kind of Hillbog or anything. There's quite a few sequences, and I kind of don't even know where to start. I don't know if you guys have any specific ones, because I don't think we can get to all of them, because we have kids in the RV and they all have special deaths, and we have the family peeping in on this crazy town.
Yeah, man, and that's one thing I really enjoy about the movie is I kept bringing up the Cornetto trilogy type of, especially the last 2 and 3 parts of those of the trilogy. It's kind of like the family the outsiders coming into this town that are all aware of what the fate of the family is gonna be, or it's like World's End, where they go in and it's a town that's filled with aliens, or in Hot Fuzz, where it's them, it's Simon Pegg's character going into that village that are all aware, and he's the only one that's kind of in the dark and stuff like that. Yeah, you're definitely right. There's a lot to talk about in this movie for sure, but I mean, that was one of the concepts that I think I really enjoyed throughout the whole movie, is that it was probably not played out by then, and so it was probably a little bit fresh, which that's why I think it's kind of crazy that it received the reaction that it did when it first came out. People wanting to burn it to the ground and stuff like that. So it's I think it's crazy that it took this long for it to be loved by someone or by people.
There's a sequence that stands out. Well, the main one that you kind of think of, because it's obviously that's the first sequence I thought of, is when they start eating the girl in the church / house, where they kind of like feed her to these goblins, and then the dude does his oh my god line, which is a cultural it's a part of pop culture now. Actually, if you go into that actor's I don't know what his actor name is. I think his name is hold Darren Ewing. If you go to his Instagram page, he actually says like it's actor, musician, cultural icon because of that because of that clip. That kind of stands out just for it being like very infamous. And also I like the special effects where the girl is kind of melting into the floor, but she's basically just, you know, laying in a hole. It's pretty great. What else?
I like when the whole town comes to their house to play they're like dancing and the kids kind of off trying to save them. That was really cool, and that was really unsettling. It kind of felt like the rest of the movie. The whole movie's unsettling, but that specifically was weird. And I see a lot of this movie looks a lot like other horror movies of the time, or maybe a lot earlier than this time. So I can, I don't know. I got to see what movies came out in 1990 of that year, but maybe by the time it came out, it was pretty dated. But I've seen a lot of the things in this movie that I've seen in other movies that were well received. I mean, I brought up like Halloween, but you know, if you watch Halloween, it's a lot of like shaky POV, dark, not in focus stuff.
Yeah, I got some Night of the Living Dead 1990 vibes. Yeah, like it's kind of reminded me of that movie, which is it's a great remake, by the way. If no one's seen that, you should definitely check it out. But it kind of the way the house is kind of like looking, and the way the people kind of, I mean, it's just like late 80s, 90s dress code, which is like, for some reason, I think is really cool. I want everybody to dress like this in every movie, basically.
So in 1990, the highest grossing film with $505 million. Do you guys want to guess what movies came out this year?
Oof.
I wasn't born, so no.
Yeah, I wasn't born yet.
I was 40 when during this time. I guess I'll read it. Ghost was the number one highest grossing.
Nice.
Alone was number 2. Pretty Women, Dances with Wolves, Total Recall, Back to the Future 3, Die Hard 2, TMNT, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and Kindergarten Cop. Best Picture went to Dances with Wolves. It beat Goodfellas. Kevin Costner won for Dances with Wolves, beat Martin Scorsese. Kathy Bates won Best Actress for Misery.
For Misery, yeah, awesome.
Joe Pesci won for Goodfellas. There's really nothing else that's exciting here, but yeah, I guess the things that I was talking about in this movie are maybe a little too late, because in the 90s there were some pretty like even horror movies had kind of advanced by that time. But you can see how like a foreign director would kind of use the movies that came out a decade earlier as inspiration for something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think he directed, like, I don't know if he directed more Italian horror other than this. Does anyone know? I guess I should probably do some research. But I know that he comes from a very, like, you know, I guess horror background, sort of.
Yeah. Oh, Blair Witch came out this year. Oh, wait. No, never mind.
Wait, I was like, no way.
It did not. Definitely not. He worked on... Wow, that's crazy. Apparently, they worked on Zombie 2 and 3 for Lucio Fulci.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, you get those vibes even with, like, the score itself, because you start listening to it and it kind of sounds familiar with, like, a lot of Fulci's films. So I was wondering if it was, like, influenced by any of their stuff. So that makes sense.
Yeah, he apparently co-wrote the sequel to the first, you know, Zombie. So like he wrote 2 and 3, and it's pretty. Him and his wife, I guess, wrote it. So it's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, Lucio Fulci is some context for Delphin. Zombie is the unofficial Italian sequel to Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah,
so
Delphin.
It's a pretty great.
I only watch.
It's a pretty great movie.
Contractually, I only have to watch Marvel movies, sequels, and then what else? Star Wars movies. Those are the only 3 that I technically have to watch. I'm just kidding.
We had a pre-TikTok dance sequence, I feel like, in this movie with the girl who does the. I can't fucking put my.
You can't do it? Not. Wait, how does she do it? I can't do it.
She does like.
There it is. Boom.
Boom.
Like this. There you go.
Boom.
Oh.
And she like does some sort of like Taibo kickboxing in the mirror,
Holly.
and then does like it's a Holly, the Holly character.
Yeah.
Connie Young is the actress who plays her, and she was apparently one of the like apparently she did not want to. She hasn't put this on her resume.
Trying to distance
herself
from it.
Yeah. Well, because she actually, I think only a handful of people from this movie actually pursued acting after this movie. I think George Hardy went back to dentistry. The kid Michael Stevenson, which is like the child actor in this movie, eventually had he has a career in filmmaking now. He directed a Netflix movie with Bob Odenkirk and Amber Tamblyn, which is narrated by David Lynch. It's fucking crazy. He went, but everybody else basically, wanted to not remember this. And Connie Young was, she was an actress who went on and did other shit, but she didn't. She never referenced Troll 2 until they tracked her down for the best worst movie documentary.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a really interesting experience because you talked about Troma earlier. So many great filmmakers come from that. Let's just get this movie made. We don't want to go down the list. Like James Gunn, J.J. Abrams, their first jobs were at Troma making these B movies. So there's a part of me that's like, it's great just to even make a movie. I think we actively try not to speak ill of any movie at all. So this movie isn't like an exception to that.
Yeah, no, we're one to talk. We can't.
Are you kidding me? I wish I made Trolls 2.
Trolls 2 World Tour?
Trolls 2 World Tour. I wish I made that movie. I love singing. But there's also I feel like there is a whole genre, and I don't know if you guys want to talk more about this, but there's a whole genre of movies like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. The Room is in there. Movies that kind of are, the term that everyone says, so bad it's good. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Are there some that you really like, or do you think that's a real genre in a way, or do you think it's kind of mean to laugh at?
You talk about the B movie genre as a whole or something?
This might be the king of those. Maybe.
I'm gonna let other people. I need to kind of.
John needs to gather his thoughts. I think get your thoughts in line, John. I think that no one tries to make a bad movie ever. Besides maybe Troma, John was right. Maybe they're a little bit more self-aware than others. But I told John that this movie just feels like it was a byproduct of the time, which is the late 80s, I'm sure, when they were filming and pre-production and all that stuff. I think it ended up being released in the 90s. But to me, I didn't see anything. Again, I've seen worse movies than that. So I don't know what the hype is about it being bad. I get why people like it for sure. But again, it's like a film in the truest sense of the word. Is able to kind of start from nothing and become something crazy big, all over the world. In the documentary, they show where the fans are and stuff like that. So it's obviously he goes to the Comic Cons or some conventions, and they're very a little bit more niche. Those conventions, they're there to see the horror stars, and even the people from Nightmare on Elm Street 7 aren't getting people at their table and stuff. And that's when it became a little bit disheartening. But it's just a matter of marketing, I think, to your audience. And so there's still a lot of people in the world that still enjoy it, and it's more popular than it's ever been. It's almost as if it was almost ahead of its time, kind of, just because it's only found its popularity just now.
I think it's definitely a genre now. I feel like, especially in the film world and the horror world, a lot of people need that genre or type of movie to just laugh at and not take super seriously. And it's what I look forward to going to film festivals. I can't wait to see a super shitty film that's so shitty it's good. I purposely go out and look for that. So
yeah, definitely. I'm going to add to both of those, being that I think B movies, even back in when they were kind of when they came about in the 1950s and stuff, they were A movies. Those weren't B movies. Those were high concept sci-fi films. And it's only because people kind of exploited the concept of that over time, and then especially the giant exploitation movie boom in the 70s. It created a new, I don't know, it created basically a new area where people can just turn their brains off and escape. These movies are pure escapism, and that. I don't think you can have movies without that, because without that you can't have Star Wars, or you can't have even high concept sci-fi movies that were born out of stuff like that. I think Them is a 1950s B movie that comes to mind.
I
But
love
like,
that
you know,
movie.
giant ants nowadays sounds dumb, but like back then it was like, holy shit, like, you know, our bombs are gonna give us giant ants.
Communists
And-
are gonna get us.
Well, no, and you're definitely right, John. Because could you imagine it had Star Wars sucked? You know, everyone said that it was just the general consensus that it sucked. It was the exact same, but it had sucked. It would have been considered a B movie for sure. Just the effects and the miniatures and stuff like that. I know, obviously, it was groundbreaking in technology sense, but yeah, you're definitely right. It's these ideas that are kind of ahead of their time. And I mean, we still get these movies even today, for sure. Movies like this that are even worse. So I don't know what, again, the big effing deal is.
Yeah, I think originally this movie probably traveled well, and people probably watched it as kind of as like a spectacle in a way. And I think people like understand that it is like a genre that some people exclusively work in, like all the trauma people. But hey, what are some other what are like other moments in the movies you got? There's so much that happens in this movie. I kind of talked about the corn sex thing, which was super hot because I love corn.
The most erotic thing I've ever seen. Ever.
I can't even remember all of them, and this is all before the ending, which is the most insane thing in the world. The fact that they got the mama, and it doesn't even matter that they survived through all of this. Yeah, craziness.
Anybody else think that third act was like very fast?
It was.
Like,
I feel like they rushed it.
Yeah, shit started happening like 15 minutes till the end, and like that's the entire, like, you know, there was at one point they have like a seance, which is pretty crazy.
Why not?
Yeah, the seance was like, I think one of my favorite shots in the movie. Like, I think Drew is the one who pointed it out, because there's like
you're stealing all my material. I said the TikTok thing yesterday, and you wrote it down, and then now you're stealing my favorite shot of this movie, which is in the trailer.
Expected that. That's why I didn't tell you anything, John. I was like, he's gonna write down all these notes.
How dare you, John? How dare you?
There's like a shot where like the camera zooms into the candles, like it kind of like it's a handheld zoom, like, or like maybe just a dolly in,
But it starts as a shot on the family, and it zooms in into the cameras and pushes in.
Yeah, and that's an awesome little part there. I was like, oh shit, like that's some actual filmmaking going on right there. Like, kudos to cinematographer.
Yeah, there's a lot that happened here that is, I mean, this movie was filmed in a couple of weeks, like literally 14 days or something.
I think over time, I think that Hardy said something like he would shoot for 3 days and then go back and then shoot for 3 days and go back. Like altogether it was probably like maybe what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that's like it's definitely super independent. It's, you know, you're probably not shooting coverage, or you're exclusively shooting coverage, no like masters or anything. But there's another movie I really like that was shot, Sam Fuller, Shock Corridor. They filmed that in 14 days in a row too, and that's kind of about something, people going loopy and stuff. I don't think it's a B movie though. I think it's like a pretty insanely good one.
Yeah, I think the actress who played, I wrote the name down. What the hell? It's Credence Gielgud is the name of the queen, the Goblin Queen / witch.
She has a crazy name. I'm gonna look it up. She has an insane name.
Like a real name, or
no, the character's name?
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
What?
Credence Gielgud is her name. There's something in the middle of that.
Yeah, get your head out of your ass, Emmanuel.
But there's she's great because she's like overacting like crazy. Like if you notice every other line delivery, her eyes widen. Like it's just like everything is like that. And it's hilarious because she does like this little thing where she's kind of like, it's very like old, almost like silent film theatrical acting, like, you know. And I think she's like one of the best actresses in the movie besides Grandpa Seth. I kind of really like that Grandpa Seth character. Only because for some reason he materializes and then is like a Deus Ex Machina. He's like, oh shit, like he's chopping hands off.
Ghosts and goblins, bro. Ghosts and goblins.
I don't know. I just want to read this insane part. Goblin Druid leader Credence Leonore Gielgud uses the Stonehenge magic stone to cause the women to disintegrate into puddles of vegetable matter, which is then eaten by the goblins and morphing Arnold into a plant. There's a lot of this movie that kind of reminds me of Cormac or no, Little Shop of Horrors? Is that
Yeah.
right? With the plants that are eating people. That is right. Yeah, Roger Corman. Is that his name?
Yeah, Roger Corman. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say McCormick, like Cormac McCarthy, and I was like, what the
You know,
fuck?
McCormick pepper, that seasoning. I love it. But yeah, I think those are also. But I mean, that movie probably predates this movie by a couple of decades. I feel
definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like there's another movie with plants now, and I can't remember what, and it's also a horror film.
The Happening.
M. Night Shyamalan. You gotta watch all these plants movies.
Stay Out of the Basement,
Yes,
an episode
yes.
of Goosebumps.
Thank you. I was like, what is it from? Yeah.
I was gonna say Jumanji, the plant that tries to eat Robin Williams.
Yeah, plants just in general are
Holy shit. Yeah, like I guess I did have that kind of in my head, like the Goosebumps
Yeah.
episode, the Stay Out of the
Wait,
Basement.
which
Yeah,
one
'cause-
came out first?
Monster Blood? I'm just kidding.
No, I think Troll 2 came out first. Like Troll 2 would have been first.
So what do you guys think of would you guys ever do like a family swap? Because this is also ahead of its time. I think this is before Wife Swap was a show. They did more than that and did family swap with some farmers.
It's a vacation swap or some
Yeah.
shit. That apparently it's a real thing. I'm gonna go ahead and look that up.
There's a
actually, right now.
rom-com about that. It's called The Holiday.
Is it because people just want to be? Oh yeah, Is it because people want to be farmers? Because I feel like he really wants to be a farmer. He's like, no, we're farmers now. Let's talk about.
I think
call me farmer.
I think it's role play, Emmanuel.
It's called a home exchange, or house swapping. Basically, it's like when two parties agree to stay in each other's homes for a set period of time.
That is interesting.
That sounds scary.
What did the
That is a
family
little
do while they were in their house? That's the question. Is that why it ended that way?
They poisoned the apples. Yeah, apparently. Then they put green shit in their apples, and then that's what killed the mom. I think.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Man, and it's so crazy because one of the very first shots of them having the food or the feast or whatever, there's a bunch of green and red like Christmas colors, and so when the apples are there, I told John, I was like, "Oh, there it is!" Like, man, it's stuff that good movies do.
Foreshadow.
Well, let's talk about our final thoughts about Troll 2. I don't know how to encapsulate everything, unless you guys still have more like sequences. I feel like we talked about a lot of the money shots, corn,
Man,
that are in the movie.
You love that cornography.
Cornhub, baby.
Cornhub, is that what
yeah.
you said?
But yeah, what are your final thoughts on Troll 2? I guess John, you can go first. Sorry, I should. I forgot we're not in the same room, and normally I look at someone, but when I look at someone, I'm looking at everyone.
Yeah, there's just a delay in the signal.
I'm gonna wink at who should go first.
Who saw it first? No, Troll 2 is it's definitely an experience. I think anybody who's a fan of movies, anybody who's a fan of films should definitely seek it out and watch it. Just describing it, even talking about it now, and I think I say this every podcast, but if you haven't seen it and you're listening to this and you don't know what we're talking about, it's something that, I mean, you owe it to yourself to go out and actually watch it, because that's kind of it's an insane movie. It's not boring at all, and you'll probably have a lot of fun. Just from the first 10 minutes, you'll see what you're in for.
It's a short movie. It's a quick watch. I think it's like an hour and a half or something.
It's pretty quick. You can totally have this, on with friends of yours. I mean, obviously social distance for now, but if you have like a giant Zoom screening party, you should definitely watch Troll 2, because everyone will definitely have a ball, especially if there's like beer involved. You'll probably have,
Turn it into a drinking game.
There's a lot. What would be the rules? I guess you would have. Yeah. Oh my god!
Anytime you've seen green goo, yeah.
Anytime someone tries to eat, anytime they talk about peeing, yes.
Nilbog, yeah.
Adelbog, Stonehenge, corn, obviously. For every,
you might be drunk by the first hour or 30 minutes.
It's only an hour. I'm just kidding.
Andrew, what did you think about this movie?
I think that at first when I was watching obviously the first time I've ever seen this movie. But when I was watching it, I rolled my eyes at some parts, and I get it, and that's what I think is pretty crazy is that I think people who are kind of on a high horse on like I only watch good movies don't realize that good is relative, I guess. And so this is one of those things where I was watching it and kind of rolling my eyes through most of it, and then. It was kind of like the prequels thing where like I hated the Star Wars prequels for a while, and then I ended up watching the pre-production. Yeah, no, I'm hearing barks, and I'm like, man.
Sorry, let me get my dog.
Emmanuel, don't talk to me that way. Anyway, yeah, and so I would watch the pre-production and the all the work that went into making the movie. It's the same thing with here, and I kind of gained a little bit more of an appreciation for all the hard work and on the intentions and just the fact that it was able to pull together this audience and find its audience, a decade and a half later, or, whatever, is pretty mind-boggling. Boggling? I don't know.
Mind-boggling.
You're welcome. Yeah, and so it's pretty insane. I don't think there's any movie like that that has ever started from nothing and gained this huge following and stuff like that.
Birth of a Nation was very successful at its time.
Yeah, I mean, you stop bringing up that movie. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think it's very unique in that sense of it literally was a little spark that should have been stamped out instantly, and then it kind of grew to this huge fire that it is today. It's still, even, me and John, like I couldn't stop talking about it at my 11-hour shift at work. I think that's my topic of conversation that I had with the 70 people that I talked to today or whatever. And a bunch of them were like, well, I got to check it out. And I was like, well, there you go. And then that's how it keeps going and keeps going. It's snowballing into this crazy big thing where I don't even think we've seen the peak of it yet.
Wow. Jenna, what would you tell someone who isn't convinced they should watch it? What would you tell them?
Just go for it, man. Like, you're gonna miss out on a gem like Troll 2. My goodness, it's so nostalgic if you've been into film. It's just like super out there. If you've ever watched Hausu, it's like a shitty version of Hausu, but hilarious at the same time. Don't watch the trailer, just go into it blind would be my advice.
Yeah, I think for anyone watching it, there's gonna be a moment where you laugh and then you're just fully on board with whatever happens next. It can happen sooner. It can happen after the mom bites the apple at the end. But I think Andrew, what you said was really wonderful. It's a movie that found an audience, and that's that's something most people want. So. Everyone wants not
mission accomplished. Like it served its purpose. Like that, That's I think it's again, it's awesome. And at first, I was trying to decipher it, and so I was paying so much attention to it that I was like, man, I have no clue where this is going to go, and so it kept me on the edge of my seat in a way.
And then you touched the Stonehenge rock, and you knew. Only the power of goodness.
I had all 6 of my dead grandpas surround me.
while I'm deep throating corn in the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie is insane. I think it's fun. Everything's pretty much on the nose with the movie. Like you know what it's trying to say about vegetarianism, and it's good, fun time. Well, sweet.
Yeah, they're trying to force feed you plants in a very bad way. Yeah, it's crazy.
Be nice to your trees out there. They may come back to try to get you to eat things.
To piss on your food?
Yeah. The next, this Thanksgiving, if I see anyone out there not wearing a mask, I'm going to take my pants down and I'm going to
piss on hospitality.
Yeah. I'm going to pee on you guys.
You can't piss on hospitality.
That's a promise. But yeah, what do you guys have to plug? Oh, shit. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll start with Jenna. You're the guest.
Oh, sorry. I guess I'm just going to plug my Instagram since I'm doing my cycling series on there. So check out my Instagram at HelloJennaLu for cycling and running activities and stuff. Yeah.
Andrew, you pretty
Awesome.
much have the opposite of that.
Yeah. Don't check me out at all. Don't forget me. Don't But also, I was gonna plug my job, but again, COVID. So don't come to my job. Stay at home and wear a mask. Wash your hands.
John,
I would agree. If you don't have to go out, please don't. And if you do, please wear a mask. Wash your hands. Wash your ass.
John, I
Wash
said that last week,
everything.
John.
I mean, we got to repeat it. It's
Yeah,
true.
y'all are so responsible. I'm like over here adding my Instagram, and you guys are saying stuff that matters.
No, but that's
Well, I'll
good though.
plug that
They
too.
can keep up with you at
Yeah.
home, from home.
I think you're technically the most famous person on this podcast currently right now. So I'm gonna
John, that I already said George. What's his name was on the beginning of this episode.
So yeah, definitely. Also, yeah, please check out Jenna Lou's Twitter and Instagram, and and check out all your Delphin Pod podcasts at the Patreon. Sign up for some cool shit there. We got some really awesome things. I think you can see these videos, maybe, right?
Maybe I forgot to start recording this one pretty late, so we'll have to see.
Okay, cool. Well, you get to see into our bedroom. Kind of, it's kind of weird.
What?
In a weird way.
The,
You're gonna cut it right here, just like
This isn't even my house,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, that's all.
my dog was barking because someone's breaking in.
Yeah. You told him to hold up. You're like, hey, I'm almost done here.
Have you ever heard of a podcast, sir?
He's like, oh, I'll wait. And he's just on your couch.
Yeah, I'm gonna let him do whatever he wants to me because he has an ear of corn in his hand.
Oh yeah, shit. You got to be nice to those people.
Is that popcorn, or are you happy to see me? Am I right? I'm gonna go hard on this corn thing.
It's gonna be a thing.
You should
Yeah.
plug Corn Hub. I think it is an actual food truck.
It is.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, everything John said, support the pod. Patreon.com/selfinpod. There's exclusive stuff there. I think Sophia and I are going to go through some of the Twilight stuff because I think I just watched all those movies and I want there to be a purpose. We have fun stuff. tpublic.com. Get merch there, so that supports the pod too. But mostly stay safe. And so long, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Jenna, for being
Thank
on, by
you.
the way.
Yeah,
It's nice to have you
for
again.
sure.
Cool. Later,
Bye-bye.
guys.